Everybody get your Quentin Tarantino bingo cards ready. The only bingo card with multiple free spaces in the middle. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
This is our post-Geekout reaction for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I'm gonna let you guys know right now, I'm not giving this a score. There's gonna be no score given at the end of this thing. Because it is a Quentin Tarantino film. So you've already decided whether or not you're going to go and see this. Hell, I'd be willing to say many of you have already decided whether or not you're going to love this thing. Quentin Tarantino, he's just got that kind of fan base where they know what they like. He's gonna give them what they like. And I have come to realize over time, I recognize Quentin Tarantino as a powerful filmmaker. He just doesn't really do it for me. He just doesn't. Peach is mad at my opinions. I must stop you from saying this. Jackie Brown was amazing. Actually, I think Jackie Brown was amazing. Jackie Brown is my favorite film from him. And I know I'm in the very small minority on that one. But, yeah, Quentin Tarantino, he's one of those guys who, even when I love his stuff, I still have to kind of like stop and be like, yeah, but there's this thing here, and there's that thing right over there. This film, it did kind of help me figure out my opinions on Quentin Tarantino, though. This is like his 8th film or something, so this one actually helped me figure out how I feel about him in a better way than pretty much anything else he's ever done, which is that I love Quentin Tarantino as a director, not a big fan of him as a writer. And this is the film that finally made me go, oh, that's what, okay, this is how I feel about him. All right, I now have an opinion on him. He will occasionally write some really amazing lines of dialogue, and he can envision some great stuff, but he tends to get really far up his own butt when it comes to his writing. And this film, it is kind of very far up his own butt, but I had to stop and constantly look at it and go, he is getting some amazing performances out of these actors, and god damn, this shot is really damn good, and oh, this is such a unique new thing that he has never really done before. Okay, yes, I am there, but then I would like look at the story structure and just be like, oh, this thing's kind of a mess.
So what is the story?
Nothing really. No, I mean that really honestly. Okay, here's the thing. This is the other reason. In all honesty, this is the other reason why I am not going to give this a score. The feelings that you have towards this film are going to boil down very largely to how invested you are in the murder of Sharon Tate. For anybody who doesn't know, Sharon Tate was an actress back in the 1970s. She was married to Roman Polanski, and she ended up getting murdered by a home invasion by a couple of Charles Manson's followers. It was really big news. It kind of like captivated the nation, and it for a long period of time, for people who are very invested in the history of Hollywood, it has been kind of a big deal. This movie, it's not a spoiler to come in here and say Sharon Tate is in the film, because in the trailers you see Margot Robbie is Sharon Tate. This movie, it doesn't make Sharon Tate a character though. It just kind of reminds you Sharon Tate is here. What this movie is about is it is about Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Rick Dalton, and his stunt double, who is kind of like his best friend, and he's also sort of like his employee, like his gopher almost. Like, all right, I gotta go and act today. You go and take care of this thing. Like, there's a moment in which his stunt double is going, so do you need me on the set all day? No, but tell you what, I think the wind knocked my TV antenna down last night. You just hop up on my roof, take care of that. And then, sure enough, he hops up on his roof, takes care of it. So, yeah, that's kind of the relationship that they have. They're good buddies, they hang out. For a period of time, you feel almost like Rick Dalton is just using his stunt double. But then there comes another moment in which it's a flashback, and you see Rick Dalton talking to the producer of this show that he's on, and he's telling him, listen, man, you gotta find him something to do today. You gotta give him something. So then you kind of realize, oh, they're both, like, even if it looks like he's using the stunt double, and the stunt double is basically just there to keep him from going insane and going off the deep end, Rick's actually helping him out too, because he's getting him work, and he is like actually fighting to keep this guy around, because you find out that the stunt double has all kinds of his own crazy stuff. I'll save that for the spoiler section, but there is a moment where they kind of reveal the stunt double's almost been blacklisted from Hollywood. He's almost basically been like, yeah, nobody wants to work with you because of this one thing that you did this one time. And then you see him, this is also kind of in the trailer, but then you see he like fights and struggles to get him a job as a stuntman for this guest appearance on the Green Hornet. And then you see Bruce Lee, who played Kato on the Green Hornet. He's just walking around talking about how he's the greatest, how he can take anyone out. And his stunt double was just like, all right, tell you what, let's beat the crap out of each other. Yeah, he's not exactly the most professional guy. Mm-hmm. But this is really just about how Rick Dalton, his career is over with. He was in a couple of movies. People really enjoyed his time in those movies. But now he's just doing single guest spots on TV shows. And this thing opens up with him meeting with this producer, Al Pacino, and his producer just lays it all out for him and just goes, listen, man, your career is over with. And Al Pacino is great in here. Al Pacino plays like the schmoozy Hollywood producer, just, hey, listen here, kid, listen, just getting in there real close. Your career's over with, but I'm going to try and do what I can do. And he tells him he wants him to star in some spaghetti westerns. He wants to star in some like Italian pictures. Mm-hmm. And there's a great scene like right after that where Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt go out into the parking lot, and Leonardo DiCaprio's just, it's official, old buddy. I'm a has-been. Why? What'd he say? He just told me the truth. What does he want you to do? He wants me to go and star in some Italian pictures. Well, what's the bad news? The bad news is I gotta be in some fucking Italian pictures. Just basically laying out like, this is my graveyard. This is where I go to die. My career is not coming back after this. And this basically just follows one day in their life. It follows Rick Dalton. He's going to be on the set for the pilot for this new show, and he's giving it his all, but he's still beating himself up anytime they like misses a line, and he's having to tell himself, yeah, this is it, my life is ruined, everything is over with, everything is done for. But then you see that his stunt double goes on his own crazy little side quest. He finds like this cult out in the desert. He's picking up a hitchhiker just driving around. And it's a very slow film that just kind of follows what they do in this one day. But every now and again, it also cuts back to Sharon Tate. And this is one of my problems with this film, is that Sharon Tate is not a character in this film, but it still keeps cutting back to her. But like what it cuts back to is, it cuts back to like, she's driving around with a friend of hers, and they're talking about something that doesn't really have to do with anything in the story, doesn't really come back around at all. Then it cuts back to these two guys. Then it cuts back to Sharon Tate, and she's going over to a movie, and it's like, hi, I'm actually one of the people in this movie. Yes, I'm different.
Yeah, so it's like basically like the day in the life of like these Hollywood actors and actresses.
In a weird way, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Pulp Fiction, except that Pulp Fiction, it was way more clear. We go, this story, this story, this story, this story, just jumping between each of them. This one, it felt more like we're just in Hollywood, and this camera's just gonna move around from one person to the next as they live their day. So it's
faithful to the title.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly. And honestly, I was kind of digging it. It is very slow. It is a very slow film. It will hold on scenes for very long periods of time. But you know what? There's really good acting, really good directing. The way that holds on this stuff, it actually does fit for what they're doing. It does put you in that moment. So yeah, I think that it is shot insanely well. Even if it is a very slow story, it's shot in a way that makes the slow pacing of the story actually work, and I'm actually totally okay with it. Like, there are great moments in there in which, like, Rick Dalton, he's on this set with this little girl who's going to be acting in the thing with her, in the show with him, and she's reading, like, the autobiography of Walt Disney. It's like, oh, it's very fascinating. Like, she is one of those children actors who they act like they're 20 years older than they actually are. And he's just reading this old beat-up Western novel, and she goes, well, what's it about? And he starts laying out what it's about, and like 2 lines into his description, you just go, it's about you. It's about you. But then he keeps going on, and he starts breaking down and crying as he's discussing it. So it's not even like they're trying to hide that it's about him, but it's just a long, long scene of him just basically summing up the plot of the film. But it kind of works. You're totally there. Or like there's another shot of it's him acting on this set. And they shoot this like it's just an episode of the TV show. But then he'll just go line, and it works incredibly well because you're just following them. This camera's just following them, and it's this very tense scene with them. But then he just kind of breaks it for a moment, and it works because it's such a slow-paced scene. But then every now and again it goes to Brad Pitt's character, and again, very slow, but it doesn't quite work as well because his story isn't as interesting as Dalton's story is. He doesn't really have quite as much going on. He does do some stuff. Like I said, he finds this, 1970s freaky cult out in the desert, which does kind of come back around towards the end of the thing. But that doesn't really tie into him. It doesn't really tie into his whole thing. Like I said, they set up this thing that maybe he did, maybe he did. They never really come back to that. They never really resolve that. They just kind of have it in there to mention what trouble he's in Hollywood, but then they never really mention, like, is he having a hard time with the fact that he's been blacklisted from Hollywood? Like, they never really get inside his head the way they're getting inside of Dalton's head. So I didn't enjoy the moments with him quite as much. But then, like I said, it'll just cut to Sharon Tate, and she's just in a movie theater just watching one of her movies. No lines or anything. She's just there, and it's solely there to just kind of make you go, yeah, man, you all know what's going to happen to her, and oh, isn't that a sad thing? Like, there's another moment where they just cut to Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski going to the Playboy Mansion for this big party, and then it has, like, just 3 people standing out front, and just text appears over them that just goes, this is Steve McQueen, this is this person, this is this person. And if you don't care anything about Sharon Tate, if you're not invested in her story, you're not going to really care about that. It's going to even kind of look lazy to you, but I can understand if you are very invested in her story, you're like, oh, this is when she meets up with it. Oh, this is this. Yeah. But for the people out there who aren't already there, it's kind of just like lazy, like, it's this person, everyone. It's the best way that I can talk about this film. I know everybody knows that I eventually come back around to these things, but this is almost like a comic book movie, except that I feel like if a comic book movie did the stuff that they did in this film, I feel like people would hate it, except for the comic book fans. Because imagine if there was a comic book movie, and then all of a sudden they just stopped to have 3 characters there, and then they just had the text appear and goes, this is this character, this character, this character. I think that, like, the average audience would be like, who the fuck is that? But, like, the comic book nerds, yay! That's kind of what this is, except it's for the movie nerds out there. I saw an article recently in which someone was talking about Leonardo DiCaprio and his career, and they just go, yes, he's won awards, and he's been nominated for all these things, and he's done major blockbusters, and he's brought in so much money, and he's been in critically acclaimed films, and he never had to put on a cape, he never had to pick up a laser sword. It was basically talking down to comic book films, sci-fi films, talking down to geek properties, and all I could think was, motherfucker, he's in Tarantino films. You know movie nerds are a thing, right? Like, this is the most movie nerd film that Quentin Tarantino has ever done.
So far, he's going to be directing the Star Trek movie.
Yeah, he's going to... yeah, we're going to see what happens with that. But this, for people out there who you are movie nerds, like, out of your geeky obsession, movies are your thing, this is his most, this is for you ever.
Yeah. And so, like, you think the fans would love it, but the people who aren't really big fans would just be...
No, I think that honestly, okay, if you're into Tarantino at this point, I feel like Tarantino, he's collected that audience that just loves whatever he does. Like, let's be real, that audience is out there. They literally advertise this by saying Tarantino's 8th film. They know who wants to see this film. They know the audience for this film. But also, like, this is getting amazing reviews from the critics, and I think it's because a lot of critics out there, they're movie geeks. That's why they get involved in this. So for them, this is very fascinating. They do love it. But I think for general audiences out there, like, if you're not already in the Tarantino camp, I think you're just like, oh, this is getting amazing reviews. Do I want to go and see it? If you want to see amazing performances, yes. But you're going to have to sit there through some scenes that you're just going to be like, this has no real impact on me. Like, I know about Sharon Tate. I know all the stuff that happened. But I kept looking at waiting for this to become a story, and it's not a story. Like, I just got to go ahead and say it now. Anytime that cuts to Sharon Tate, she is solely there to remind you, this is all leading up to what happened with Sharon. That's what this is here for. That's okay. That's what that's there for. And man, I kept looking at that like, I would actually probably really enjoy this film if you just made her a character. If you really just had her be more crucial to the plot rather than just having her be, I don't want to say this.
Footnote or
don't say feet with the Tarantino.
Sorry, my bad.
Okay, I gotta mention that. Because we all know at this point, Tarantino has a foot fetish. We know it. It's not even like up for discussion anymore. Oh my God, it is so all over the place with this. There are two things that you always know are going to happen in a Tarantino film. He's going to have a woman's bare feet up there for no reason, and he's going to say the N-word for no reason. I will say this, he doesn't say the N-word in this one.
Okay.
He does not write a cameo just for himself to come out there and say it, because, yeah, listen, man, Tarantino's got problems. He's got a lot of problems, and I'll be real with you, I do have a bit of a chip on my shoulder that a lot of people don't call him out on that.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the fact that so many people aren't like, so why is it that you constantly have to do this in your films, and why specifically do you want you to be the one who says it in your films? I kind of have a question about that.
Meanwhile, everyone in Hollywood's like, shh, he's a genius. Let him do his own thing. He knows what he's doing.
I will admit, I like a lot of Tarantino's films, but I think the reason why I am not in the Tarantino camp is I just look around and I'm just like, why has no one talked to him about this? Why has no one asked him about this? Isn't this like, wouldn't this raise freaking questions with anyone else? Yeah, it bugs the crap out of me.
Yeah, like,
but I will say, he does not do that in this film. But the foot fetish thing is through the fucking roof. Like I mentioned, for a large portion of this film, whenever Sharon Tate is in it, it's just her watching her own movie. Watching it in a movie theater with bare feet and her feet up there on the seat in front of her.
Oh,
and it is taking up that much, like, you're Sharon Tate, these are her feet, and they're dirty feet, too. Like, I kept looking at it, like, she's not a barefoot hippie walking around, she's like Richard Man. Why does, yeah, I kept looking at it just like, listen, man, even if it's not like one of the main fetishes out there, this is a fetish, and I do have to kind of look at this scene like, this is here solely so you could have Margot Robbie walk around, get her feet dirty, and then just look at the nut. Yeah, it is kind of nuts. When Brad Pitt picks up this hippie girl to take her, that's hitchhiking, bare feet up there on the dash the entire time. Just the hippies all walking around, bare feet the whole time. Yeah, man, it is so freaking nuts. It is it is insane how unapologetic he is just about, I know you all know this, go fuck yourself.
It's like, just,
I want to look at Margot Robbie's feet.
Just direct a foot porn movie already, jeez.
This is almost it. Like, I believe that there is so much like foot porn in this film. You could take it, combine it with the foot porn from all his other films, and you might actually have an hour and a half of footage. Footage. Yeah, listen, man, again, it's his thing, but it took me out of it. Like, this isn't like me just, like, even if you didn't know this about Tarantino, this would be the film that breaks you on it. This would be the film that makes you just go, this seems, wait. This would be your Unusual Suspects turn around, drop the coffee cup moment. Yeah. Where you just turn around and just like, wait a minute. Inglourious Bastards. For no reason, he just started massaging a woman's feet. Oh, and there was this thing in that moment, and Jackie Brown, there's a woman who never wore feet. And, oh my God, it's like all the images of feet just flashing by your head.
I'm not trying to like kink shame him or anything, but it's like,
you're allowed to have whatever kink you want to have. Just, dear God, man, if your fetish was breast and you just had like a woman like her chest like that close into the camera for large portions of it for no reason. Yeah, man, everyone would be calling you out on this. So, yeah, I'm kind of have to call you out on this. Okay, back to the movie. Yes, as I said, one of the always Tarantino free bingo cards, that's off. And it was just like, oh, okay, I'm actually kind of impressed they actually for once didn't do that thing that I have been calling him out on for a long time. Oh, but he tripled down on the other one. All right, okay, fine. But as I said, this is basically just a day in the life of this actor and his stunt double. And the performances are fantastic. They're shot incredibly well. They do hold on these scenes for a while, and I'll admit, I think a couple of them go on for a little too long. I mean, there is a flashback within a flashback at one point because they hold on certain scenes for so long.
It's like, did you ever feel like it was too long, or do you think they just cut away just before?
I felt it was too long. Honestly, if you took Sharon Tate's entire thing out of this film, it would have been fine because, like, if she had just been here at the beginning, because there was a moment at the beginning in which Dalton is pulling up, or his stuntman is pulling him up, which is something else. I also always kind of feel like Tarantino, I think because he's an auteur director, And because he has got that fan base, I think that there's a lot of people out there who just allow him to do stuff even when it doesn't make sense. And there's a moment at the beginning of this in which he just goes, oh yeah, this is my stunt double. My car's in the shop right now, so he's driving me around. And then all of a sudden this narrator comes in and goes, that's a load of shit. Rick Dalton had his license taken away because of too many DUIs. That narrator never comes back until the very end of the film. And this was like 10 minutes into the movie. Then there's like 2 hours of never hearing that narrator. And then he comes back, and I just looked at that and went, that's not good. That's not a good thing. And it seems like that's an obvious thing, that you would not have a narrator come in for one thing, like 5 minutes into your film, and then not use that narrator again until the very end. It's like, either do it once, never bring it back up, either do it at the end for the big wrap-up, or have it continuously. This isn't like some weird auteur thing that he does. This isn't some like, oh no, it's his vision. It's like, no, that's just not good. That's just not a good thing to do. And that's why I said, yeah, I like Tarantino as a director, but you gotta get on one lap or another. I like Tarantino as a director, but I don't really care for him as a writer, because I think he's gotten to that point where he's like, I'm gonna do this thing, and no one ever kind of stops to go, that doesn't quite work. So yeah, what? Got something on my face? You got something on your face. You. Yeah. All right. So yeah, this movie, it opens up. Rick Dalton, he goes up to his house. His stuntman drives him up there, but then you see his new neighbor pulling up, and it's Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate. And he's pointing at him and going, that's Roman Polanski, he's my new neighbor. Listen, man, if I can just meet him, just get some kind of an excuse to just go up there and meet him. That's the guy who he directed Rosemary's Baby. I could be in the next Roman freaking Polanski film. Jeez, Peach just jumped up on my crotch as I was doing that.
She gets very excited when you clap your hands.
When I clap my hands? Yeah, there she goes. You all probably just saw me making a sudden electric shock. Oh, I'm amazed I was able to hold it together well enough when she did that. But yeah, so that comes up at the beginning, and then it never really comes back up again, because after that it's following their day in this life. And then at the very end, it all kind of ties back into the murder of Sharon Tate. But as I said, I think that you're making this film for the people out there who know who Sharon Tate is, and you're invested in that. I mean, that's clear. That's the audience for this film. But why then do you have to keep cutting away to Sharon Tate in there? Because they're not getting anything new from this. They're already invested in this. And for the people out there who are not invested in the story of Sharon Tate, you're not giving them anything to be invested in the story of Sharon Tate on this at all, other than just remind them that Sharon Tate exists. That's it. That's all there is to it. So yeah, I feel like they absolutely wasted not only Margot Robbie, because she's an amazing actress, but they absolutely wasted like any kind of storyline, any kind of screen time that they have with Sharon Tate in there. I feel like that's a complete waste. But I do really enjoy the stuff with Dalton. Even though I didn't enjoy Brad Pitt's stuff nearly as much, I did still enjoy it. I did still think that he did an incredibly good job in there. Listen, it's an actor's film is what this is. This is a film that is entirely just there to go, let's watch these actors just be really damn good. I can tell you right now, Leonardo DiCaprio is getting nominated for Best Actor. Like, that goes without saying on this. It is hands down just a slam dunk guarantee that he's going to get nominated. Brad Pitt will probably get nominated for Best Supporting. And because Hollywood is so far up Quentin Tarantino's butt, I got a feeling Margot Robbie's going to get nominated for Best Supporting Actress, but she doesn't deserve it. She's an amazing actress. She absolutely is. But she does nothing in this film, like at all. I don't even know what scene you would use for the clip that you would have in her nomination.
Her watching the movie with her bare feet
up there. No, that will be in the montage that the Oscars do to go, don't we all love movies? And then just like the big uplifting music of like feet here and just her face watching her own movie. Yeah, that's what they're gonna use that clip for. Man, I would put money on the table that's going to happen. But yeah, there are amazing performances in here. And there's great shots. Listen, I love a long shot. I love just a long shot. There is an amazing long shot in here of the Bruce Lee scene. Yeah, that whole thing, it took me a while to realize, this is all in one shot. This is amazing. And there's several, like, single shots like that. So yeah, if you want to see someone who really knows how to set up a shot, if you want to see some great cinematography, if you want to see some great acting, this is good. This is great for you. If you are a big film and Hollywood geek, this film is perfect for you. I mean, there is a moment, like I said, Rick Dalton, he is in this movie. He is on the pilot for this TV show. I found this out today. Apparently, the character he is playing in that pilot was an actual cut character from the actual pilot for this show. And I just looked at that, and when I have been watching freaking comic movies for decades now, I have never seen a reference that, like, I have never seen that hard of a pull of a reference. I have never seen, like, that much of a geeky reference in there. Yeah, man, this is for film geeks. This is for Hollywood geeks. This is who this movie is for. And if you're in that audience, yeah, man, you're probably gonna love it. But for me, and listen, man, I am a Hollywood geek. I am a movie geek. But I needed this to be a better structured story. I need, like, if you're all leading up to this point, I need you to actually make me care more about Sharon Tate, other than the fact that she's Sharon Tate. That's it. And I didn't think that it did. So, like I said, I'm not going to give this a score because it is for a very specific, it's for like 3 very specific audiences. If you are in any one of those 3 audiences, you're absolutely going to love this thing. But I'm in one of them. But the problems that I had with the structure of this story, it wasn't enough for me to just go, oh, they mentioned a thing that I know. All right, yeah, no, I ain't doing that.
You're past that.
Yeah, I really am. I mean, that's one of those things, man. Again, bring it back to the comic book movie comparison. I'm a huge comic book nerd. But I cannot tell you how many times I have seen people online get excited about some kind of a comic thing, and I just come in and go, that looks like trash. That looks awful. Like, don't. And I just look at it and go, I know you guys are just applying this because they said a thing that you know. And that's what this movie is. I think it has a lot of problems, but they say the names of things that people know. So they're like, yes, that thing. Oh, yes. One brilliant. Yeah, I kind of feel that way about this. But as I said, there's also other audiences that it's going to appeal to. Like you said, if you're in the Tarantino camp, you're just gonna love this no matter what. So I'm trying to think of anything else I want to add in here because there are a lot of good things that are worth pointing out. Like I said, I love Rick Dalton. I think Rick Dalton is an amazing character in here. There's so many moments in here where they come in here and just make you feel for how he is past his prime, for how his career is just getting washed up. They do an amazing job with that. If they honestly had just cut out Sharon Tate and even Brad Pitt stuff, because like I said, Brad Pitt's thing, it does tie into the end because he goes and he finds this weird hippie cult out there and they tie back into the murder of Sharon Tate at the end. But when they come back around at the end, they're not even coming back around because he found them. Like, he goes in there and he pisses them off, and then there's some of the ones who come back towards the end. They don't come back around for him. They're just completely surprised by any interactions that they have with him there at the end. So his interactions with them mean nothing at all. There was no point to it at all. I think that honestly, you could have even cut out a lot of his stuff in here and just made this the story about Rick Dalton. I would have been really invested in that. But at the end of this, it kind of lost me all over again because I was invested with Rick Dalton, but then at the end of this, they skip by 6 months. They do like a 6-month time skip at the end of this. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll just come in here and say, at the very end of this, it's got like a big time skip, and then they're just, well, now this thing's happening, and now this thing is happening, and now this thing is happening, and I just looked at that and went, I don't care about any of these things because I didn't see any of that. So, yeah, I do have problems with this film. I didn't love it, but I absolutely love things about it. Which honestly describes my opinions about a lot of Tarantino films. Yeah, this film, it actually does something very similar to Inglourious Basterds. And I kind of felt about this the way that I felt about Inglourious Basterds. I know a lot of people absolutely love that film. I think it's just kind of bland. I really do. I think Inglourious Basterds is one of his most dull films. And I kind of look at this one, amazing performances, but yeah, I can't really get that invested in anybody other than Rick Dalton. That's it. But okay, time to go into spoiler stuff.
Spoiler, so is the cult that the stunt double went to part of the assassination?
Yes,
okay.
they are. I was trying not to bring that up too much, but I did have to kind of mention that there is a problem with the fact that, okay, so there was a purpose for this scene. There was a reason for him to go here, because they're the ones coming back. No, they're not there for them. They are there to kill Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski, because there is a moment early on in which Charles Manson comes up to Roman Polanski's house like, hi, I'm looking for this person. Oh, they moved. They're not here anymore. Oh, okay. And then he just kind of walks away just like staring at them. And then they pull up there at the end and they go, okay, Charlie said we need to break in there, kill everyone in the house. And then this is where it gets weird. Because you would imagine, this is another problem that I honestly kind of have with this film, but I can understand why people would have this problem, but I've got multiple problems, and I'll go into my reason for that. At the end of this, the car drives up, and it's just parked outside, and its muffler's just making all this noise. And Rick Dalton comes out there, hey, what the hell are you doing out here? It's freaking midnight. People live in these houses. Get your goddamn muffler fixed. His southern accent is a little bit more exaggerated when I do it, but one thing that I like about him is that he has this tame southern accent, but anytime he gets mad, it really comes out. Yeah, I like that. Leonardo DiCaprio is an amazing actor, and this is one of his best performances ever. So yeah, I gotta give him credit. But he comes out there and yells at him. He's like, all right, we'll go. And then they back up, and then they're parked out there. He's like, wait a minute. Was that Rick Dalton? Oh man, remember that show? Well, I don't know why I'm doing a southern accent for the cult members. Was that Rick Dalton? Oh man. You remember that show that was in? I had a lunchbox of that when I was a kid. And then this one person goes, hey man, I just had an idea. TV teaches us to kill. So let's kill the people that teaches us to kill. Like, that's an amazing idea. So they decide they're gonna kill Rick Dalton and kill his stunt double and kill everyone in that house before they kill Sharon Tate. And they go in there, and what happens when they go in there is that Brad Pitt, the stunt double, he's there. Rick Dalton is out in his pool with headphones on. He doesn't hear any of this stuff. Brad Pitt is there, and Brad Pitt has the best dog in any movie this year. Just this sweet, adorable pit bull who's just so well behaved. But he just got done smoking an acid-dipped cigarette that he actually bought from one of the cult members when he went on his trip. So he's kind of tripping out a little bit. And so when they break in, he's just looking at it like, oh man, are you real? Wait, I know you. Yeah, I remember you. And they don't even remember him, which that's kind of my problem. It felt like, oh, I see what's happening here. He pissed off the cult members, so they're going to come to his house for that. And then that leads to Sharon Tate. Oh, I see what happens. No, nope. Not related to it at all. They break into the house, and they don't even remember him. At first, it was like, wait, are you that guy? They don't even remember this guy at all. But basically, they break into his house first. And then he just goes, and then his dog attacks the guy with a gun. He throws a can of dog food at one woman with a knife, punches her in the face, and like her teeth get knocked out. And Quentin Tarantino, he's known for ultra violence. There's been like no violence in this thing at all. It's been incredibly tame by Tarantino's standards. That was another thing I had to give this thing credit for. I had to give this thing credit for the fact that this is not like other Tarantino films. He is trying something different with this, and I gotta applaud him on that. At the end of this, it becomes a bloody Warner Brothers cartoon. Mm-hmm. Like the dog just regularly just ripping, like biting his crotch off, just ripping flesh going everywhere. The woman just her teeth knocked out, blood all over her face. And then like just they start beating the shit out of them. During that 6-month time jump, Rick Dalton, when he's in Italy, gets married to an Italian woman, and now the Italian woman is in the house, and she's screaming in Italian, just running, running all over the place in her underwear, and just running back and forth like it's a Scooby-Doo cartoon as this woman chases her with a knife. And like I said, it's like a cartoon at the end of this. And I'm not opposed to you going with like an ultra-violent cartoon, but nothing in this entire, like nothing for 2 hours straight matches this tone at all. And I looked at this and went, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And the audience was eating it up. Like I said, if you're in that Tarantino audience, you know to expect this stuff from him, and you've come to love that stuff from him. But nothing in this film is like that. And I looked at this and just went, you gotta be out. This is really stupid. This is just insane that you are going in this direction at this moment. and they're just losing their minds. Like, beating these people up, stabbing them, just cutting their faces up. Like, the woman who gets her teeth knocked out, she grabs the gun and she just starts wobbling around with the knife, not the knife, the gun just firing into the air like she's a freaking puppet. Like, just like running around like that. And earlier in this film, there is a flashback to one of Rick Dalton's films where he was using a flamethrower, and then it shows him on the set going, yeah, man, you don't want to mess with anything like that. Like, it's insanely hot. I had to practice with that thing for 2 weeks. And then you see him practicing with the flamethrower. And Tarantino, he does write good lines. Even though if I said I don't like him as a writer, he writes some good dialogue in there. And there's a great line of dialogue in there in which it shows him testing with the flamethrower. And then he goes, whoa, man, is there any way that we can do anything about that heat? And then the guy just goes, no, it's a flamethrower. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good line. That's a really good line. And there's a lot of other really good lines throughout this thing. They're not quite like the witty lines that Tarantino is known for. They're more of just deep lines, and I enjoy that. It showed that Tarantino can write really good dialogue when he wants to. But at the end of this, the woman comes out to the pool. What's his face? Dalton, he looks at her and just goes, Jesus Christ, what the hell is happening? And she runs in the pool, and then she just pops up, just screaming, blood all over her face, holding the gun, just brandishing it about. He goes out to his work shed, just comes out with the flamethrower, apparently he just kept it, and just torches her ass in the pool. And then the police come up, and they're just like, oh yeah, so what happened? He goes, well, this crazy person came in here and I just torched him. Like, he doesn't get any trouble throwing a flamethrower or nothing, just, they're totally fine with it. Everything works out for them completely fine. And then, only thing that really happens is that, what's his face?
So he got married to a woman just so she can, like, get burned?
No, she doesn't get burned. No, there's 3 people that break in.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and it was one of the people who broke in.
Oh, okay.
She gets burned. The woman he married, she's just there to be in her underwear and run out and go, ah, and run back around and then poke her head out, ah, and then run back in. Yeah, she has no purpose to this film at all. She has none, except to kind of be like the all is lost moment in a way, because when they return from Italy, he's talking to his best friend, his stunt double, and he just tells him, yeah, man, listen, with the wife, things are going to be more expensive, and I don't know if I have enough money to keep you around. And this is another thing I got to give this film. This is one thing that I actually really enjoyed about the film. They do capture a really good friendship between the actor and his stunt double. The friendship between them is actually great in here. And when he tells him, listen, man, you can't work for anymore, he takes it in stride. And he's just like, you know, man, you're going to get back out there. It's going to be all right. And they decide they're just going to go out drinking one night, just have like one last night together. And then they get back and all this crazy stuff happens. But yeah, it's very, like, you get no feeling of like why he cares about this woman he married to, what she's like at all.
Seems like the women in this movie don't really have a purpose.
Well, it's almost like that's another trend in Tarantino films. Yeah, it's almost like, that's some... Yeah, Tarantino, he's got problems. He's got a lot of problems. Then again, he also did Jackie Brown, which was fucking amazing, and that has a strong female character in there. When Tarantino wants to write strong female characters, he can actually write strong female characters. When he wants to just jerk off to their feet, he's just gonna do that. That's what he's gonna do. But at the end of the thing, his stunt double has to go to the hospital. He's gonna be absolutely fine, but he goes off to the hospital. So it's just Dalton out there standing there and it's like, wow, weird night. And they just hear someone behind him and he turns around and it's the gate leading into Polanski's place. He goes, so what all happened here? And he starts telling him what happened and the guy's just like, oh my God, that's great. Wow. Holy cow, this happened? And yeah, man, these 3 people just came in and started talking about being the devil or something. Then he goes, you know what? I gotta tell Sharon about this. And then Sharon comes on the speakers. Hi, this is Sharon. Who's that? Oh, it's your neighbor, Rick Dalton. Oh my goodness, Rick. Listen, we've been wanting to meet you for the longest time. You want to come on in? I heard a bunch of crazy stuff just happening out there. Yeah, sure. And then Rick comes in and he meets Roman Polanski, the thing he wanted to do at the beginning of this so he could maybe save his career. And they're shaking hands and then it just goes, once upon a time in Hollywood. And it's basically a Hollywood fairy tale is what this is supposed to be. They came in here, they saved the life of Sharon Tate, and now this actor, his career is saved. And honestly, I'd be more okay with this if they did already do this same thing in Inglourious Bastards. Because at the end of Inglourious Bastards, spoiler for that film, they kill Hitler. And it's like, listen, man, you don't need to convince me to make a film where you kill Hitler. Kill Hitler all you want. That's totally fine. I have no problem with that. But I feel like if you're going to make a film where you change history once, that's it. You get to do that one time, and then you come in here and you do it again. And I just kind of looked at that just like, oh, so this is just your thing that you're going to do now. Okay, well. But I get it. It does kind of tie into the premise, into the title of the film. It is a fairy tale. This actress that everybody loved, she's saved. This guy, he got his career resurrected because he saved this actress that everyone loved. But I would have cared way more if it were for the fact that they made me care about Sharon Tate in this. Like I said, this is solely a film really just for those people out there who are really who are like, man, if you just want to go and see a film where they murder the people who murdered Sharon Tate, that's what this film is. It's for you, and they made you care about the guy who ended up doing it. They made you get invested in those two guys. But, I don't know, it just kind of feels... It almost feels like cheating considering that they did something very similar in Inglourious Basterds. And also considering that the interaction that Brad Pitt has with these cult members early on, it doesn't really matter at all towards the end.
So that's going to be another space on the Quentin Tarantino bingo board.
Oh, you mean altering history?
Yes, altering history.
Okay. Yeah, I guess he is kind of doing that now. Which makes him the perfect person to do the next Star Trek film. Yeah, it's... So yeah, that's... I see reasons why people would love this. I see reasons why people would walk out of this thing and just absolutely be in love with it. But yeah, I've got problems with it. And I will admit, when it comes to Tarantino, I do have a bit of a chip on my shoulder because there are many problems that I have with pretty much every Tarantino film. And I think a lot of people tend to just write them off when if literally anybody else out there did this, they would call them out on it. I feel like, listen, I love the auteur theory when it comes to directing. The auteur theory basically saying you should let the director just do whatever they want, have their own vision, let them play that out as much as they want. I love that idea. But I feel like that also leads to, not to bring this full circle, I feel it kind of leads to a bit of a cult mentality where people are just like, I just love this guy, so I'm going to love whatever he does. It's like, you don't know you're allowed to tell someone that you didn't, that you have a problem with that thing. And like I said, I feel like a lot of Tarantino films, I feel like if anybody else made them, people would have huge problems with some stuff in there. So yeah, that's kind of my feeling about this one. My feeling about this one is my feeling towards almost every Tarantino film. Stuff in there that I think is amazing, some of the best examples that you're going to see all year. Like I said, I think this has the best performances of any film I'm going to see this year. And it's got great lines of dialogue. But story structure, I think it's got massive problems in there. And towards the end of this film, when it just has that huge shift in tones, if this was not a Tarantino film, I think that anybody else watching a film that has a shift in tone that dramatic, I think that they would be pointing that and calling it out. And I don't think anybody is really going to do that. But also, like I said, this film, there's no real reason for this to tie into Sharon Tate. They don't make you care about Sharon Tate, so it really is just like, you better already care about Sharon Tate when you come to this thing, and I feel like they waste a lot of potential in there. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of Pulp Fiction with how it moves from one thing to the next. Except Pulp Fiction, you do get more of a cohesive sense of how all this stuff is tying together. This more just feels like things are happening to people. Which I guess is meant to be the tone. I guess that is meant to be how the story is portrayed. But it doesn't make for as interesting as the story with me if things don't... It then leads to stuff not mattering, is what I'm trying to say. It leaves me feeling like things don't matter.
You think that's why they just threw in the random violence at the end?
No, it's because Tarantino wanted this to be a revenge film. He wanted this to be a revenge film for the people out there who were mad about the murder of Sharon Tate. And they want to go, yeah, wouldn't it be great if we just murder those people? Yeah, that's what it is. Also, it's because that's just what Tarantino does. But yeah, so that's why I'm not giving this a score. You've already made up your mind about whether or not you want to see this. But yeah, let me know what you thought down below. As I said, I don't even know why I'm asking that. Like I said, I know why people are going to love this. I know absolutely why people are going to love this. And it's not just because it's Tarantino, but I do feel it's because the people out there who love Tarantino films, they know what they like, and they kind of, like I said, it's the auteur theory. It's, if you like this director because they do those things, it's kind of like when your favorite band comes out and plays that song that you really like by them. I get it. I absolutely get it. But I'm not there with those people. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. You can always follow me around the web on Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, @ProfessorThorgy. I don't know if we're going to do anything else this weekend. I'm going to start watching The Boys. So if I get all the way through The Boys, we'll come in here and we'll do a discussion of it this week. But if not, we'll do it next week. And then next week we'll be back for... God, there's something coming out next week. There's always something coming out. Fast and the Furious. We'll be back for Fast and Furious.
Well, it's not Fast and Furious, it's... Well,
it's Fast and the Furious Hobbs and Shaw is what it is. So yeah, come back for that. Bye, everyone.
Bye.